Welcome to the Own Your Life podcast, where our goal is to help bring hope, healing, and peace by sharing our experiences and inspiring you to own your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own Your Life podcast. So today is going to be a very, very important topic, something that we've wanted to talk about for a long time, and it's really time to wake up. It's time to wake up to what is happening around us and taking a stand for what you believe in. And I feel like a lot of this obviously stems with what has happened in the past 18 months. I know that unless you are living under a rock, you know what's happening with the world. You know that coronavirus has taken quite the toll worldwide. And now we are seeing a lot of devastation in Afghanistan. And our hearts go out to the 13 men and women that lost their lives in the attacks that happened last Thursday, which, so for when this comes out, is on the 1st, happened on the 26th of August. So we just want to say that, and that I feel like a lot of times that we have maybe just hoped that somebody else would take the torch. And I mean this in general, not Matt and I specifically, but us too. We wanted somebody else maybe to just deal with problems that are going on, and maybe thinking, oh, well, I'm just one voice, or my thoughts don't matter, or I can't make a difference. And I think that's really dangerous thinking. And I know I've thought that before, is that maybe I don't matter. And I would say that every single one of you listening to this matters, and that if you do want to see, change, maybe you don't like what's going on, and, we're just going to call it out, that a lot of this that is happening right now, especially with coronavirus, is a lot of mind control. It's a lot of seeing how far they can push compliance of the majority of the population to see if they can control them in other ways. And if you don't see that, I would suggest to do some research and look into it, because this was a biological weapon forced upon all of us, and it is not something that just magically happened in nature, and something that we need to fight against now before things get worse, because I think a lot of us have thought, oh, it can't get any worse, whatever, we'll do, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. Well, now here we are 18 months later, and apparently that still wasn't enough. So I think that a lot of what's been going on has been super damaging, and that the cure has been way worse than the disease. And that statistically, if you want to follow the science, which I know a lot of people say they do, but they actually don't, and that COVID actually has a survival rate of 99.6%. So when you put that in perspective, you really have a higher chance of dying in a car crash, getting hit by a car, maybe not waking up from your sleep. You've got higher chances of a lot of other ways that something can take you out other than this virus, that if you do get, you have a huge, huge chance of living through it and being just fine. And I know that I have had COVID. I lost my sense of smell in January and sense of taste, and it was kind of weird for a little bit, but it came back, and I'm fine. I feel totally fine. It really wasn't that big of a deal. I know for some people that happened. They obviously got COVID and had a lot worse symptoms and had to go to the hospital, maybe had different, other health situations too. And I think that's a lot of things that we ignore, and we become so fearful of something that is really not the main thing to be afraid of. I think that the main thing to be afraid of is being controlled. And a lot of that goes against what we stand for, because this is own your life. This is not let the government own your life, or let somebody else own your life, let your school board own your life. No, this is for you to own your life and take responsibility, and realize you can make different choices that can impact and make a change on maybe the things you don't agree with, and things that you don't like what you're seeing in the world. Some of those being maybe changing where you're spending, maybe changing your buying habits to companies that believe in what you believe in. I think that makes a huge impact, because I feel like if we all change how we vote with our dollars, and we change how we spend, then, certain companies that maybe are pushing agendas that we don't agree with would disappear, or they would change their tune in order to make a buck, because they're realizing their control is not working. And I think this is really scary times for us, but it's not hopeless. So we want to bring hope, healing, and peace. That is, what we are all about and have been since day one. And a lot of that, though, is you really got to be honest with yourself and look at what's happening and not turn a blind eye to it. Especially if maybe it's your kids and where they go to school. Maybe looking at that, are they being taught to hate one another? Are they being taught that maybe their skin color is the wrong skin color, or that they were born the wrong way, or whatever? Because that is being taught. I know that might be a shock to a lot of you, but that's being taught. And if I had a kid in school right now, I would be one of those crazy parents at the board meetings, probably giving quite the speech, because I don't stand for that. Everybody is created equal. We are all given an opportunity to own our lives, no matter what situation that we are born into. That doesn't mean we have to end up in that situation in the end, and that everybody has opportunity. Not everybody has the same resources. However, you can work to get that. You can, get the job or build a business or whatever it is that you want to do to be able to have more opportunity in your life. It's a choice. It's a choice to do that, or it's a choice to just sit back and not do anything and maybe just let the government take care of you. I think that that's very dangerous, because they are trying to see how much they can get past people and how much they can control the majority. And I'm sure this is turning a lot of you off, but maybe it's firing a lot of you up, which is the main goal. And if this only impacts and empowers one other person to make a difference and to step up and own their life, then it was totally worth it. And I'm not looking for popularity. I'm looking for standing up for what's right. And I believe in what the Bible says. I believe in our country. I believe in freedom. And I know that freedom is not free. Freedom doesn't just come to everybody, and freedom can be scary. But I would take freedom over slavery, which is being dependent on everything else, and especially being dependent on the government to make all your decisions for you, or your job to make all your decisions for you. I think that that's really, really dangerous, and definitely not at all, what we stand for. And if your job is telling you have to get a vaccine, and I'm not going to talk about pros or cons of vaccines right now. I'm just going to say, if your job is forcing you to, look at that. Like, this should be an individual choice. Maybe you have health issues and you don't want to get it. Maybe you just don't believe in it. Maybe you strongly believe in it and you got it, and that's fine. Whatever you chose, it is your body, and you should be able to make the decision. You should not be having a job tell you, or a school, a college, or somewhere tell you that you have to get a certain vaccine. Otherwise, you will no longer be employed, or you will no longer be a student there, especially something that hasn't been proven. It's been out for a very short time, that we don't have the long-term data that we would have if it was a different vaccine or whatnot, like we do with other ones that have been used in the past. And I just think it's just looking at the motives. Like, where is this coming from? Why is this happening? These are questions we need to ask. And why is my job so focused on this? Why aren't we just focused on, whatever it is that you do, and making that better, and, getting better, whether you're working a team or not, or increasing productivity or sales, or, whatever the goal is, and not so focused on this. I think it's really, really scary. And I'm not sure if everybody has seen what's going on in Australia, but my fear is that that could happen here just as easily as it's happening there. They are on a martial law, and they are pretty much told to stay home unless they absolutely have to go out and get maybe groceries or something. Everything is takeout. There is no dining in at all. And you have to scan a QR code for where you go, even when you get home, so that you are always tracked, no matter where you are, of where you are going. And it's one person per household that can leave it at a time. So if, say, you're a family of 5, only one of you can go to wherever it is. You can't bring everybody and go. And that's what they're doing. And they're mandating that you wear masks outside and probably inside in your house. And to me, that's just crazy. I have been, for myself, I am extremely anti-mask, but I'm not against. If you feel more comfortable and you want to wear one, that's great. I also feel like that should be a choice. If you want to and that makes you feel good, do it. But don't force that on me, because I just see it as a walking bag of bacteria hanging off your face, and that you are constantly breathing in your own carbon dioxide that you're breathing out, and that's not healthy. I know for me personally, I've had a lot of issues. Even if I wear a mask just on a plane, my throat gets all scratchy, and I feel like I'm start to cough more, and that it's definitely harmful. And when I don't wear one, I feel so much better. And I live in a state where I can do that. I don't have to wear one, which is awesome. And part of the reason why we did move to Florida, that was one of them, that we were not going to have to wear a mask everywhere. I know that a lot of people feel super strong about it, but we feel it should, it should really be a choice. If you want to, cool. But if you don't want to, don't shove it down our throat that we have to do it, because it's not scientifically proven to help at all. I've seen multiple things online of people, maybe they vape or whatever, just to show kind of how a mask doesn't work. And they've inhaled, and then they have the mask on, and then they exhale, and it goes out everywhere. It goes all out the sides, all out the front. It goes through every part of the mask. So that's showing when you're breathing out, it's not staying in like you think it is. It's just it's going out, and then whatever bacteria is coming back on, and just from being wherever you are, you're harboring that and just carrying that on your face. So for me, I think it's really gross, and I absolutely hate everything to do with the mask, and I don't want to wear it. I think it should be, just optional for anybody and not mandated. I know the airlines, have yet to change their rules, but I feel like besides some of the more extreme states that everybody else has just left it up to, the person's choice, really, besides maybe like California, New York, or I know North Carolina is really strict now too. And another reason why we left there, that was part of it. But with all of this, I feel like it's not to be political. It's not to like say all this stuff, but it's to show like we have to stand up against what we don't believe in, because if we don't stand for what we believe in, then it's going to go away. Like if we don't do something, it's going to get worse. So I feel like if you are in a space, maybe you do live in California, maybe you live in New York, maybe you live in North Carolina, maybe you live, somewhere else, and things are being pushed on you that you don't agree with, I would argue for you to stand up and fight against it, whether you have to call the mayor or the governor or send a letter or an email or however you can get a hold of them to voice your opinion. Because with elected officials, like we are paying for them. At the end of the day, the taxpayers are paying for them. You are paying them for their job. They work for you. They don't just work for the state. They work for the people, and the people elect them, and the people pay them. So that is something to keep in mind, that you are really in charge of their salary, which is just kind of crazy at the end of the day. But that is the truth, and that we do need to stand up, and that it's scary. It's scary because, we don't want to lose our job, or we don't want to lose our, maybe position in our social status or social circles, anything like that. But if you look back on this, 10, 15, 20 years from now, and you see maybe it gets worse than it is now. I'm not going to predict the future because I can't do that. I would say only God knows the future. We don't. But if you look back and you see, like, I didn't do anything about it. I just let it happen, and it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And maybe you have lost loved ones to COVID and to a lot of these other things that have been an issue, like suicides raising, like abuse going up, like even substance abuse going up. All these things, like I said before, the cure cannot be better than the disease, or cannot be worse than the disease. And that's what's happening. The cure is worse, because numbers of suicides and drug abuse and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, all of those have skyrocketed. Murder, it's all gone up. And that's so scary to me. Like, everybody's mental health has taken a toll, whether you're alone or you're with a bunch of people or you've had the disease or not. Everybody's mental health, we've all been hit by this, has been a huge traumatic event. And I would argue that is so much more concerning, at least for me, that's so much more concerning than a virus that may or may not do anything to you. You may be asymptomatic, and your chance of survival is 99.6%. I would take the chance. I would rather get the sickness and be okay than to have my mental health and emotional, physical, all of that suffer because of that. And like I said before, we're looking back. So just look at the future you, and then looking back on this time, what do you want to be remembered for? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? Do you want to be the person who just sat in the shadows and didn't do anything, didn't speak up, didn't say anything for fear of maybe being canceled or losing friends or having family members mad at you? Or did you stand up and do the right thing and speak out against what's going on? Because I feel like it is the time now, if you haven't, now is the time. And I'm saying this to myself too, like, this is risky doing this podcast, but you know what? At the end of the day, I can't take this anymore. I can't take seeing what's happening and not standing up against it. I feel like what happened in Afghanistan last week is horrible and a huge misstep by the joke of a presidency that we have right now. I would call it a regime, not a presidency, because all they are trying to do is rule us and control us. And I know that if it keeps going that way, our country is not going to be anywhere near what we thought it was even 2 years ago, and that we could lose all the freedoms that we have. And I don't think people understand how serious this is, that a lot of the things that we enjoy and we do right now can all be wiped away from us just as fast as all this coronavirus stuff came. I think that a lot of people have just been flipped upside down, just seeing like, wow, I can't even recognize my country a year and a half later after this all started. I even remember in late 2019, because I know that it started in November of 2019 when coronavirus was starting to come out and people were talking about it just a little bit. I heard it here and there and I thought, oh, we don't have to worry about this. And then obviously end of February, March is when, everything kind of hit the fan and things were closing down, at least where we were. And I feel like the whole country did. And we didn't know what to do. But I feel like because we've seen that, lockdowns are extremely damaging to mental health, to isolating people, to pretty much looking at each other like monsters, because I feel like that's what's happened. And especially with wearing a mask, like this was my concern. And you can listen back to other podcasts where I said it made me sad to not be able to see somebody's facial expression anymore, because I feed off of that. I like seeing people smile. I like smiling at people. And not being able to do that was it really was hurtful. All you see is eyes, and you can't always tell emotion just from the eyes. I know some people can, but I would say not your average person is really okay with that and would want more social interaction, more facial recognition, things like that. So I do support facial nudity. I will say that. And I do feel like it is the time. It's the time now to stand up. And maybe if you don't agree with your work or they are imposing this mandate on you that you absolutely have to get a vaccine that maybe you do or do not agree with, that maybe you look elsewhere for employment or you push back, you write them a letter, you tell them why you don't agree with it. And I'm sure you're not the only one. There's no way you're the only person in that company that feels that way. So it is the time. It is the time to stand up. And you will probably be seeing, more messages like this from us. We have always been a supporter of our military men and women, always been a supporter of freedom, always been about owning your life, which means not being a victim, that you are taking charge and you are 100% responsibility for your life. Yes, we cannot control what happens around us, but we can control how we react. We can control what we believe in and what we stand for. And I think that is a huge part of it. So I want to encourage you to really think about what's going on. Think about it and decide to make a change, because we can, and that your voice does matter. And that we don't even need a majority. If a lot of us just stand up, that's going to make a difference in history. If you look at it, it was usually not the majority of people that made the changes and the differences, but it was usually the powerful minority that spoke out that got the attention to be able to make change with what is happening, what was happening in their world at that time. So I just want to encourage you with that today. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. Please share this message. Please rate and review us and subscribe. And until next time, own your life, because your life is your responsibility. Thank you all for listening. If this added value to you, please click subscribe and rate and review us. You can also find us at Own Your Life Co. on Instagram and Facebook, and ownyourlifeco.com. And as always, own your life, because your life is your responsibility.